I returned from probate with my heart racing, eager to tell my son and daughter-in-law that my father had left me $50 million. But when I pushed open the front door of what I still thought was my home, I found them sitting at my dining table with a real estate agent, a stack of glossy brochures spread between them. And my son looked up at me with that smile I used to trust and said, "Mom, perfect timing. We were just finalizing the listing price for the house." I stood there in the doorway, my purse still on my shoulder, the probate documents folded inside my jacket pocket, and I felt the air change. The real estate agent, a woman in a sharp blazer, glanced at me with polite confusion. My daughter-in-law, Vanessa, didn't even look up. She was circling something on a paper with a pen. My son, Eric, 34 years old, gestured to an empty chair like I was a guest in my own home. "We need to talk about next steps," he said. "You've been under so much stress, Mom. We think it's time." I didn't sit. I asked what they meant by listing price. Eric exchanged a look with Vanessa, and she finally met my eyes. "Your house, Diana," she said, her tone flat, like she was explaining something to a child. "We're selling it. You're moving into assisted living. We already toured a facility in Scottsdale. It's beautiful. You'll love it." I'm 58 years old. I run 6 miles every morning. I manage a commercial property portfolio that's been in my family for 3 decades. And my son just told a stranger he was selling my house. Before I go any further, I need you to do something for me. Leave a comment and tell me, what would you have done in that moment? And let me know where you're watching this from. I need to know I'm not alone in what happened next. My name is Diana Frost. I'm 58, and I live in Paradise Valley, Arizona, just outside Phoenix. Or at least I did. My father, Victor Hargrove, passed away 6 weeks ago. He was 89, a self-made commercial real estate developer who built his empire from nothing in the 70s and 80s. He owned shopping centers, office parks, industrial complexes across the Southwest. When I was young, he taught me everything: how to read a contract, how to negotiate a lease, how to spot a bad deal from a mile away. I worked alongside him for 30 years. I wasn't just his daughter. I was his partner. When he died, I thought I understood what I was inheriting. Some properties, some accounts, enough to live comfortably and continue the work we'd built together. I flew to Tucson for the probate hearing expecting a straightforward process. What I got was a shock that nearly knocked me off my feet. $50 million. Liquid assets, property holdings, trusts, investment accounts. My father had been far wealthier than I ever knew, and he left nearly all of it to me. He'd set up ironclad trusts, named me as executor, and made sure everything was protected. The lawyer handed me documents, smiled, and said, "Your father wanted you to be taken care of, Mrs. Frost. He was very clear about that." I drove back to Paradise Valley that afternoon, with my hands shaking on the wheel, my heart full of grief and gratitude. I wanted to tell Eric. I wanted to share this with him, to let him know that his grandfather had secured not just my future, but his too. I thought he'd be proud. I thought he'd hug me and tell me how much he missed Grandpa Victor. Instead, I walked into my house and found them planning to sell it out from under me. I need you to understand something. I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm telling you because what happened next only makes sense if you know what I had and what they thought they could take. Eric is my only child. His father, my late husband Tom, died of a heart attack when Eric was 19. It was just the two of us after that. I poured everything into him. I paid for his college, his business school, his wedding. When he and Vanessa got married 7 years ago, I was thrilled. She was polished, ambitious, articulate. She worked in pharmaceutical sales. They seemed like a team. But over the past year, things shifted. It started small. Eric began showing up unannounced, letting himself in with the spare key I'd given him years ago. He'd walk through the house, commenting on repairs that didn't need to be made, asking if I'd thought about simplifying my life. Vanessa started coming with him, always with a folder or a printout, articles about estate planning, elder care, something called a family trust restructuring seminar. They told me I looked tired. They said I was forgetting things, though I wasn't. They suggested I stop driving at night, even though my vision was perfect. When I hosted Thanksgiving last year, Vanessa whispered to a cousin that she was worried about me and that I seemed confused about the menu. I'd made the same meal for 20 years. At Christmas, Eric asked me, casually over coffee, if I'd ever considered signing a power of attorney. "Just in case, Mom," he said. "You never know." I told him no. I told him I was perfectly capable. He smiled and said, "Of course you are." But I saw the look he gave Vanessa. In February, I got a call from my property manager, a man named Luis, who'd worked with my father and me for 15 years. He said Eric had stopped by the office, asking questions about my assets, my income streams, my expenses. Luis was confused. He asked if I'd authorized it. I hadn't. That same week, I found a business card on my kitchen counter. A divorce attorney. I'm not married. I never remarried after Tom died. When I asked Eric about it, he laughed it off, said it must have fallen out of Vanessa's purse by accident, that one of her friends was going through something. But the card had a note scrawled on the back in Vanessa's handwriting. Ask about conservatorship. I didn't know what that word meant, so I looked it up. A conservatorship is a legal arrangement where a court appoints someone to manage another person's financial affairs and personal decisions, usually for someone who's incapacitated, mentally incompetent, or unable to care for themselves. My hands went cold as I read. I was none of those things. I started paying closer attention. I noticed that every time I mentioned my father's health declining, Eric would steer the conversation toward what happens next, and making sure everything's in order. He asked me more than once if my father had updated his will recently. I told him I didn't know. I lied. When my father died in early November, Eric was at the funeral, somber and supportive. He hugged me, told me he loved me, said he'd be there for whatever I needed. But 2 days later, he asked if I'd signed anything yet. I said no, that probate took time. He nodded, but I saw relief in his face. The week after the funeral, Vanessa started talking about memory care and how it's never too early to plan. She sent me links to luxury facilities, places with names like Serenity Springs and Golden Horizons. She said they had yoga classes and art therapy. She made it sound like a resort. I didn't respond. Then, 3 weeks ago, I came home from a meeting with my accountant and found Eric in my office. He was sitting at my desk, going through my file cabinet. He said he was just looking for some old photos of his dad, but the drawer he had open was labeled Financial Current. I asked him to leave. He did, but he was angry. He told me I was being paranoid. He said he was trying to help. Vanessa called me that night and said I'd hurt Eric's feelings, that he was only trying to protect me. Protect me from what? That question haunted me, so I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a camera, a small one, hidden on a bookshelf in my living room, angled toward the front door in the hallway. I didn't tell anyone. I just wanted to know if I was losing my mind or if something real was happening. 3 days later, I reviewed the footage. I watched Eric and Vanessa let themselves into my house while I was at a doctor's appointment. They walked through every room. Vanessa took pictures of the furniture, the art on the walls, the view from the windows. Eric opened drawers, looked through my mail, photographed documents on my desk. At one point, he held up a folder and said to Vanessa, "This is it. Once we get her declared incompetent, this all transfers to us. The house alone is worth $4 million. Vanessa laughed. She actually laughed. She said, "Your mom thinks she's so sharp, she has no idea." Eric said, "Dad would want us to have this. He built this with Grandpa. She's just been coasting." I watched that footage 3 times, sitting alone in my bedroom with my laptop on my knees, my hands shaking so hard I could barely press pause. My son, my only child, the boy I raised, the man I sacrificed for, was planning to have me declared mentally incompetent so he could take everything. I didn't cry. I didn't call him. I didn't confront them. I made a decision that night. If they wanted to play a game, I'd let them think they were winning. But I was going to make sure that when the truth came out, they'd lose everything. The next morning, I called my father's attorney, a man named Raymond Keller. Ray had been my father's friend for 40 years, and he knew me just as long. I told him what I'd found. I told him about the conservatorship card, the secret visits, the footage. I asked him what I should do. Ray didn't hesitate. He said, "You document everything. You act normal. You let them make their move. And when they do, we bury them." I also called my property manager, Luis, and asked him to quietly audit everything, every lease, every account, every password, every access point. I wanted to know if Eric or Vanessa had touched anything without my knowledge. Luis found that Eric had tried to log into our property management portal twice using my email. He'd failed, but he'd tried. I changed every password. I moved documents to a safe deposit box at a different bank. I made copies of everything: leases, tax returns, medical records, financial statements. I recorded every interaction I had with Eric and Vanessa. I kept a journal, dated and detailed, and I waited. The day I returned from probate, I knew it was coming. I'd been gone for 6 hours. I'd texted Eric that morning, casually, saying I had errands and would be back by evening. I didn't mention Tucson. I didn't mention the hearing. I wanted to see what he'd do. What he did was invite a real estate agent into my house. When I walked in and saw them at my table, I felt a strange calm settle over me. This was it. This was the moment Ray and I had prepared for. I asked Eric, very calmly, what he thought he was doing. He stood up, his face earnest, his voice soft. "Mom, sit down. Let's talk." I didn't move. Vanessa closed her folder and said, "Diana, we've been talking to some people. Doctors, attorneys, advisors. We think it's time you let us help you. You've been under a lot of strain. Losing your father, managing everything alone, it's too much." "I'm perfectly fine," I said. Eric shook his head. "You're not, Mom. You've been forgetting things. You're confused. Last week you called me twice about the same contractor issue. You're repeating yourself." That was a lie. I'd called him once about a roof repair, and he hadn't even called me back. The real estate agent, clearly uncomfortable, started packing up her things. "I can come back another time," she said. "No," Vanessa said sharply. "Stay. We need to move on this." I looked at my son. "Move on what exactly?" He sighed like I was exhausting him. "We're selling the house, Mom. We're moving you somewhere safe, somewhere with people who can take care of you. We've already started the paperwork. We have a lawyer. We're filing for conservatorship next week." There it was, out loud, in front of a witness. I smiled. I don't know why, but I did. I said, "That's interesting, Eric, because I just came from probate court." His face changed. Just a flicker, but I saw it. Vanessa froze. "I inherited $50 million from my father," I said. "Everything. The properties, the accounts, the trusts. It's all mine. Locked down, protected, ironclad. And you know what else? I recorded you. Both of you. Breaking into my house. Going through my things. Talking about having me declared incompetent. I have it all." The real estate agent stood up so fast, her chair scraped the floor. She mumbled something about needing to leave and practically ran out the door. Eric's face went white. Vanessa's mouth opened, then closed. For a long moment, no one said anything. Then Eric laughed. It was a nervous, sharp sound. "Mom, come on. You're not serious. You're confused. You don't—" "I'm not confused," I said. "I'm done." I pulled out my phone and played the footage. Right there, in my dining room, I played the video of them walking through my house, talking about me like I was already gone. I watched their faces as they heard their own voices. When it ended, Vanessa looked at Eric. He looked at the floor. I said, "You have 24 hours to return every key, every code, every access point you have to my life. If you contact me again, if you come near my property, If you so much as mention my name to anyone, I will file a restraining order, and I will make sure every single person in this family knows exactly what you tried to do. Do you understand me?" Eric started to speak, but I held up my hand. "I'm not finished. I've already spoken to my attorney. I've removed you from every document, every account, every trust. You have no claim to anything I own. You never did. My father made sure of that." Vanessa's voice was shrill. "You can't do this. We're family." I looked at her and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just clarity. Family doesn't try to steal from each other. Family doesn't plot to have their mother declared incompetent. "You're not my family anymore." I walked to the door and opened it. "Get out." They left. Eric tried to say something on his way past me, but I didn't listen. I closed the door behind them, locked it, and leaned against the wood, my heart pounding, my hands finally shaking. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the moment, kept seeing the look on Eric's face. Part of me felt triumphant. Part of me felt shattered. I'd just exiled my only child from my life, but what choice did I have? He'd chosen this. He'd made his move. I just made mine. The next morning, a package arrived. It was from Eric. Inside was every key he had. House keys, office keys, gate codes written on a piece of paper. No note, no apology, just the keys. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a call from Ray Keller. "Diana, we have a problem," he said. "Eric and Vanessa filed for emergency conservatorship. They're claiming you're mentally unstable, that you threatened them, that you're displaying signs of paranoia and delusion. They have a doctor's letter." My blood went cold. "What doctor?" "Someone named Dr. Philip Narayan, a psychiatrist. He claims he evaluated you 3 weeks ago and found you to be in cognitive decline." I'd never heard that name in my life. "Ray, I've never seen a psychiatrist. I've never met this person." "I know," Ray said. "That's why we're going to bury them." The hearing was set for the following Monday. Ray told me not to worry, that he'd handle it, but I couldn't stop the fear from creeping in. What if they convinced a judge? What if their lies worked? I spent the weekend gathering every piece of evidence I had. Medical records showing I was in perfect health. Cognitive tests I'd taken as part of a routine physical just 2 months ago, all normal. Bank statements showing I managed my finances flawlessly. Testimonies from Luis, from my accountant, from neighbors, from friends. I built a file so thick it barely fit in my briefcase. Monday morning, I walked into that courthouse with Ray by my side. Eric and Vanessa were already there, sitting with their attorney, a sleek man in an expensive suit. Vanessa looked composed. Eric looked nervous. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Judge Calloway, reviewed the petition. She asked Eric's attorney to present his case. He stood and painted a picture of a woman in decline, forgetful, paranoid, hostile, unable to manage her affairs. He presented the letter from Dr. Narayan, which described a patient, supposedly me, who exhibited confusion, memory loss, and delusional thinking. Then Ray stood up. He handed the judge a file. "Your Honor, the petitioner's claims are entirely fabricated. Mrs. Frost has never met Dr. Narayan. In fact, Dr. Narayan's medical license was suspended in California 2 years ago for falsifying patient records. He's currently under investigation. This letter is a forgery, and I have documentation to prove it." The courtroom went silent. Eric's attorney's face drained of color. Judge Calloway looked at the file, then at Eric, then at Ray. "Continue, Mr. Keller." Ray presented everything. My medical records, my cognitive tests, testimonies from people who interacted with me regularly, all stating I was sharp, capable, and fully competent. He presented the video footage of Eric and Vanessa breaking into my house, discussing their plan to have me declared incompetent. He presented records showing Eric had tried to access my financial accounts without authorization. By the time Ray finished, Eric was staring at the table. Vanessa was pale. Their attorney looked like he wanted to disappear. Judge Calloway closed the file. She looked at Eric and Vanessa for a long time. Then she said, "Petition denied. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for possible charges of fraud, elder abuse, and conspiracy. Mr. Frost, Mrs. Frost, you're fortunate I don't hold you in contempt right now. Get out of my courtroom." Eric stood, his face red, his hands shaking. Vanessa grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the door. As they passed me, Eric stopped. He looked at me, his eyes wet, and whispered, "Mom, please." I didn't respond. I watched them leave, and I felt nothing. Ray put a hand on my shoulder. "You did it, Diana." I nodded, but I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. Over the next 2 weeks, the fallout was swift. The district attorney opened an investigation. Dr. Narayan, the fake psychiatrist, turned out to be a friend of Vanessa's from college, someone she'd paid to write the letter. He was arrested. Vanessa was charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Eric was charged as an accomplice. Their assets were frozen pending trial. The house they'd bought with money I'd given them as a wedding gift years ago? It turned out they'd taken out a second mortgage against it, betting on getting access to my estate. When the conservatorship failed, they couldn't make the payments. They lost it. I didn't go to their arraignment. I didn't want to see them. But Ray kept me updated. Vanessa took a plea deal. 2 years probation, community service, restitution. Eric fought the charges, but the evidence was overwhelming. He was convicted. He got a suspended sentence, probation, and a permanent restraining order preventing him from contacting me. I moved forward. I honored my father's legacy. I expanded the business, started a foundation in his name, donated to causes he cared about. I made new friends. I traveled. I learned to live without the weight of betrayal crushing me every day. But some nights, I still think about Eric. I think about the little boy who used to climb into my lap and ask me to read him stories. I think about the teenager who cried on my shoulder when his dad died. I think about the man he became, and I wonder where I went wrong. I don't have an answer. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe some people just choose greed over love. Maybe some people see their parents as obstacles instead of human beings. All I know is this: I survived. I protected what was mine, and I learned that sometimes the quietest exits are the loudest statements. If you're watching this and you're in a similar situation, if someone you trust is trying to take from you, control you, or diminish you, don't wait. Document everything. Get legal help. Trust your instincts. And remember, you don't owe anyone access to your life, your money, or your dignity. Not even family. Especially not family. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment, share your thoughts, and let me know if you've ever had to make a hard choice to protect yourself. And if you haven't already, follow this channel. I'll be sharing more stories, more lessons, and more truths about what it means to stand up for yourself when the people who should love you try to tear you down. My name is Diana Frost. I'm 58 years old. I'm worth $50 million, and I'm not anyone's victim. 6 months after the trial ended, I was sitting on my back terrace watching the sunset over Camelback Mountain when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Local area code. I almost didn't answer. I'd gotten careful about who I let into my space, even digitally. But something made me pick up. "Mrs. Frost?" A woman's voice, young, uncertain. "My name is Caroline Webb. I'm Eric's colleague. Or I was. I'm sorry to bother you, but I think you should know something." I felt my shoulders tense. 6 months of peace, and now this. "What is it?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. She hesitated. "Eric's in the hospital. He tried to. He took pills. A lot of them. He's stable now, but I thought someone in his family should know." The world seemed to stop. I sat there, the phone pressed to my ear, the sunset bleeding orange and purple across the sky, and I felt a wave of something I couldn't name. Not quite grief, not quite guilt. Something darker, more complicated. "Which hospital?" I heard myself ask. She told me, "Scottsdale Memorial, 20 minutes from my house." I thanked her, hung up, and sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. I didn't want to go. Every rational part of me said to stay away, to let Eric face the consequences of his choices, to protect the boundary I'd fought so hard to establish. He'd tried to destroy me. He'd lied, manipulated, conspired. He'd looked at me, his own mother, and seen nothing but a bank account to drain. But he was also the boy I'd rocked to sleep when he had nightmares, the teenager I'd held when his father died, the child I'd brought into this world and promised to protect forever. I drove to the hospital. I don't remember making the decision. I just found myself in my car, navigating through evening traffic, my hands gripping the steering wheel too tight, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts I couldn't organize. The ICU was on the 4th floor. I gave his name at the desk. The nurse, a tired-looking woman with kind eyes, checked her computer and said, "Are you family?" "I'm his mother," I said. The words felt strange in my mouth. She nodded and pointed down the hall. "Room 447. He's awake but sedated. The doctor will want to talk to you." I walked down that hallway like I was walking toward an execution. My heart was pounding. My palms were sweating. When I reached his room, I stopped outside the door. Through the small window, I could see him, pale, thin, an IV in his arm, monitors beeping softly. He looked small, broken. I pushed the door open. He turned his head slowly, saw me, and his eyes filled with tears. He didn't speak. Neither did I. I just stood there, 3 feet from his bed, and we looked at each other across a chasm that felt impossible to cross. Finally, he whispered, "I didn't think you'd come." "I didn't think I would either," I said. His face crumpled. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know who I became." I wanted to believe him. Part of me desperately wanted to close the distance, take his hand, tell him it would be okay. But I'd learned the hard way that words were easy. Actions were what mattered. "Where's Vanessa?" I asked. He closed his eyes. "Gone. She left 2 weeks after the trial. Filed for divorce. Moved to California with some guy she met online. She took everything we had left. Not that there was much." I felt a cold satisfaction at that, and I hated myself for it. "I lost my job," Eric continued, his voice shaking. "The firm let me go once the conviction went public. I couldn't find work. No one would hire me. I couldn't pay rent. I've been living in my car for the past month. I couldn't see a way out. I couldn't see a future." He was crying now, openly, his shoulders shaking, and I stood there, frozen, torn between the mother I'd been and the woman I'd become. A doctor knocked and entered, a man in his 40s with glasses and a clipboard. He introduced himself as Dr. Patel and asked if we could speak privately. I followed him into the hallway. "Your son is physically stable," he said, "but mentally he's in crisis. This was a serious attempt. He's going to need intensive psychiatric care, possibly inpatient treatment. Do you know if he has insurance? Resources?" I shook my head. "I don't know anything about his life anymore." Dr. Patel nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I see this more often than you'd think. Family estrangements, especially after legal conflicts. Mrs. Frost, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I will tell you this. Your son is asking for help. What you do with that is your choice." I went back into the room. Eric was staring at the ceiling, tears running down his temples. I pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then I said, "I need to know something, Eric, and I need you to tell me the truth. Did you ever love me, or was I always just a means to an end?" He turned his head, looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "I loved you, Mom. I love you. But I got lost. Vanessa kept talking about what we deserved, about how you were sitting on all this wealth while we were struggling. She made it sound like you owed us. And I listened. I let her poison me. I let greed turn me into someone I don't recognize. You made choices, I said quietly. You chose to break into my house. You chose to try to have me declared incompetent. You chose to lie to a judge. Those weren't Vanessa's choices. They were yours. I know, his voice broke. I know, and I have to live with that. I destroyed the most important relationship in my life because I wanted money. And now I have nothing. No wife, no job, no home, no mother. I'm 34 years old, and I have less than nothing. I felt something crack inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something softer than the rage I'd carried for months. What do you want from me, Eric? I asked. Why did your colleague call me? I didn't ask her to, he said quickly. I swear, she found my phone, saw your number listed as emergency contact. I never changed it. I couldn't bring myself to delete you. So what now? I pressed. You want me to fix this? Pay for treatment? Give you money? He shook his head violently. No, God, no. I don't want your money, Mom. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. That I know what I did was unforgivable. That I understand if you never want to see me again. But I needed you to know that I'm sorry. That's all. I stood up. I looked down at my son, this broken man who'd tried to destroy me, and I felt the weight of every decision I'd ever made as his mother. Had I spoiled him? Had I given him too much, made life too easy, taught him that he was entitled to things he hadn't earned? Or had I simply raised a human being with flaws and weaknesses, someone who made terrible choices when faced with temptation? I thought about my father, about the lessons he'd taught me, about integrity, about consequences, about the difference between mercy and enabling. He'd always said, Diana, you can forgive someone and still protect yourself from them. Those aren't mutually exclusive. I took a breath. I'm going to pay for your psychiatric care, I said. Eric started to protest, but I held up my hand. Not because you deserve it, not because I'm okay with what you did, but because you're sick, and I'm not going to let you die when I have the means to help you get treatment. After that, you're on your own. You'll need to rebuild your life without me. Do you understand? He nodded, tears streaming down his face. Thank you. Thank you, Mom. I'm not done, I said, my voice harder now. You will never have access to my home, my finances, or my life again. You will not contact me unless I contact you first. You will not show up at my house. You will not tell people we've reconciled because we haven't. You will get treatment, you will get a job, and you will figure out who you want to be. And maybe years from now, if you've proven that you've changed, we can have a conversation. But right now, this is all I can give you. Eric nodded again, his face crumpled with grief. I understand. I understand. I turned to leave, but at the door, I stopped. I looked back at him one more time. Your father would be ashamed of what you became, I said quietly. But he'd also want you to have a chance to be better. So I'm giving you that chance. Don't waste it. I left the hospital as the sun was setting completely, the sky dark purple and scattered with stars. I cried in my car for 20 minutes, ugly, gasping sobs that came from somewhere deep inside me. I cried for the relationship I'd lost, for the son I'd thought I had, for the innocence that greed had destroyed. But when I was done crying, I wiped my face, started the engine, and drove home. I'd done what I needed to do. I'd shown mercy without sacrificing my boundaries. I'd given him a chance without endangering myself. Over the next 3 months, I paid for Eric's treatment at a private psychiatric facility. I got updates from his doctors. He was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, was attending therapy, was working through the shame and consequences of his actions. I never visited. I never called. But I kept paying the bills. When he was discharged, he sent me a letter, not a text, not an email, an actual handwritten letter. He thanked me. He told me he'd gotten a job as a landscaper, something physical and honest. He said he was living in a small apartment, going to therapy twice a week, and trying to become someone he could respect. He said he understood if he never heard from me again, but that he was grateful for the chance I'd given him. I kept the letter. I didn't respond. A year passed, then another. I lived my life. I traveled to New Zealand, to Portugal, to Japan. I expanded my father's foundation, funding scholarships for low-income students studying business and real estate. I made new friends, women my age who understood complicated families and hard choices. I dated a little, though nothing serious. I learned to enjoy my own company, to appreciate silence, to find peace in my own home again. On my 60th birthday, I received a package. Inside was a small wooden box, beautifully crafted, with an intricate inlay design. There was a note. I made this in woodworking therapy. I thought you might like it. I'm still here, still trying, still sober and working. I think about you every day. I hope you're happy. Eric. I kept the box on my bookshelf. I looked at it sometimes and felt a complicated mix of emotions I couldn't quite name. 3 years after that hospital visit, I got a call from Eric. It was the first time I'd heard his voice since that day. He asked if we could meet for coffee. Just once, just to talk. I thought about it for a week. I consulted with Ray, with my therapist, with the friends I trusted most. And then I said yes. We met at a quiet cafe in Phoenix on a Saturday morning. Eric looked different, healthier, older, steadier. He'd gained weight in a good way. His eyes were clear. He'd grown a beard. He looked like a man who'd been through fire and survived. We sat across from each other, two strangers who'd once been everything to each other. We talked about safe things at first. The weather, books, his job. He'd been promoted to supervisor at the landscaping company. He was taking night classes, working toward a degree in environmental science. He'd been sober for 3 years. He was dating someone, a woman he'd met in therapy group. He seemed different, real. After an hour, he said, "Mom, I know I can't undo what I did. I know I broke something that might never be fixed. But I want you to know that I'm a different person now. I had to lose everything to understand what mattered. And I'm sorry. I'll spend the rest of my life being sorry." I looked at him across the table. And for the first time in years, I saw my son. Not the man who'd betrayed me, but the boy I'd loved, the person he was trying to become. "I know," I said softly. "I believe you." We didn't hug. We didn't make promises. But when we left that cafe, something had shifted. Not forgiveness, not exactly, but the beginning of something new. A fragile, careful connection that might, over time, grow into something that resembled family again. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe some things stay broken. Maybe some betrayals leave scars too deep to heal completely. But I'd learned something important through all of this. I could protect myself and still leave the door open a crack. I could be strong and still show mercy. I could remember the past without letting it define my future. My name is Diana Frost. I'm 61 years old now. I'm worth more than $50 million. But that's not what defines me. What defines me is what I survived, what I built, and the choices I made when everything fell apart. I chose myself. I chose my dignity. And when my son fell, I chose mercy without sacrificing my boundaries. That's the lesson I want you to take from this. You can love someone and still protect yourself from them. You can forgive without forgetting. You can show compassion without being a victim. Life is complicated. Family is messy. But you always have the right to choose yourself first. Thank you for staying with me through this whole story. If it meant something to you, leave a comment and let me know. Share your own experiences. Tell me if you've ever had to make an impossible choice. And remember, your story isn't over. Neither is mine. We're still here, still standing, still writing the next chapter.